Happy Wednesday, folks, and welcome to episode 437 here today of #AskGSM for Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week so far. Thankfully, my voice is pretty much all recovered from WrestleMania weekend, which was wild as we discussed last week. I did go to a Fozzy concert on Sunday. Jericho always sounds great live. Fozzy's one of my favorite bands. Obviously, I got into Fozzy because of Chris Jericho, but they have genuinely great music. I've now seen them 3 times in person, and we saw them in Providence on Sunday, and they were awesome. So I sang a lot of that show. Shockingly, I did not lose my voice for the second straight weekend, which is nice. We're going to get into your questions here today. There are a lot of questions, so thankfully I have my voice for this one. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop your question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Starting off with a question here that was actually intended for last week from Kadeem G from YouTube. I somehow missed it. I apologize to Kadeem. That's why he's talking about WrestleMania SmackDown here, even though at this point it was 2 weeks ago. So his question was, I think he sent this in actually 2 weeks ago. It was meant for last week. Like I said, I just missed it. So I apologize again. But Kadeem's question was, he said, "Hey, Graham, I'm glad I didn't watch SmackDown Friday, not this past week, but the week before that, because I went to see Morbius. Not a good Marvel movie, but way better than SmackDown, which was a waste of time. WrestleMania SmackDown, holla holla." He said, "Anyway, with Madcap Moss winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, do you think WWE is giving him a push for the Intercontinental Championship, or can this company just be done with this fucking gimmick?" I'm actually kind of glad I waited a week to answer this because I was not high and still really am not all that high on Madcap Moss winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, literally 5 of the now 8 people who have won the thing are now no longer with the company. I think Jey Uso, Corbin, and Moss, and Uso just won it last year, Moss just won it this year, so obviously they would probably still be employed by WWE. They're the only ones still with WWE. The other 5 winners, Big Show, Cesaro, Matt Hardy, Braun Strowman, and Mojo Rawley, are all gone from WWE. So honestly, it feels like it's more of a curse than a blessing to win this damn trophy. So Moss may not be here in a year or two, which, with this newfound push that he's getting. Like I said, I missed the Battle Royal at SmackDown. I was at SmackDown, WrestleMania SmackDown, as you called it 2 weeks ago. Far from a great show, really a waste of time, but I was really just there for the, Hall of Fame show, for the Hall of Fame induction of The Undertaker, which was well worth it. That was awesome. But yeah, with Madcap Moss doing the dumb gimmick, since you sent in this question, he has since turned face on SmackDown, and hopefully, we will see what the follow-up is on Friday, but hopefully, I say, they ditch the dumb Madcap Moss bullshit, change the name, the gear, the music, the gimmick. The dumb laughing shit has been just that. It has been very, very dumb. Moss and Corbin worked well as an alliance. I didn't really hate that. Moss has never really done a ton for me personally. He looks like $1 million. He's always come off as average to me, even during his time in NXT. I thought his team with Tino Sabatelli, who I thought had more potential, I thought that worked well. Once they split up, I think both guys got hurt. Moss was gone for a while. He came up to the main roster, was doing the 24/7 bullshit 2 years ago. He got hurt for a year, and now he's on SmackDown. He's just never really stood out as special to me. But listen, the crowd was shockingly behind him during that Happy Talk segment on Friday. So he may indeed have, Alex Riley babyface potential. Alex Riley, I thought, had way more potential than Madcap Moss does, in my opinion. And also Alex Riley's push fizzled out after a while. If they can stay consistent, really they can make anyone who they want into a star. Will it have the same Wardlow energy where he becomes this breakout star away from Happy Corbin and he gets more over and working with a heel such as, I don't want to say Happy Corbin is WWE's MJF, far from it. And I like Happy Corbin a lot. I like Baron Corbin a lot, but Wardlow, I think, can stand on his own as a world champion. Madcap Moss, probably not. I don't see him as even a mid-card champion. But listen, that mid-card Intercontinental Championship is so fucking worthless. I mean, they're defending it on Friday in a match with Ricochet and Jinder fucking Mahal, who I know is a former U.S. champion of 8 days and a former WWE champion of 6 months. Jinder has not meant anything since he lost that damn WWE title 5 years ago. So no one gives a fuck about that match, I would assume. So giving him the Intercontinental Championship, why the fuck not? Unfortunately for me, it means another person I have to have sign my replica Intercontinental title, and it just so happens to be Madcap Moss. but it is what it is. So I think if they give him a shot, I'm not writing it off already. He came off well in that segment on Friday. So, but the key is they got to move on from the Madcap shit, and I'm not convinced that they will. Anyone thinking, oh, of course they're going to move on from the Madcap stuff. Why wouldn't they? The thing is, with Doudrop, for example, yeah, she got a new gimmick, but they didn't change the name. And it makes absolutely no sense as to why they didn't change the name, because in storyline, she was bestowed that name by Eva Marie as a joke. Eva Marie, she turned on, and Eva Marie got fired, and Doudrop is still Doudrop for no fucking reason. Because they don't want to go, they don't want her to go as Piper Niven. They're changing every NXT UK star's name for some reason. They kept Toni Storm, they kept Rhea Ripley's names. Why? I don't know. Probably because Rhea Ripley's a WWE prodigy. She really wasn't doing much before WWE. Toni Storm was not. I don't know why they didn't change her name. Maybe at some point they would have. Who knows? But she left before that could happen. Madcap Moss is not an NXT UK star, but Piper Niven was, and I guess they didn't know the name. They wanted to change it. Come up with something more intimidating or more, badass than fucking Doudrop or Madcap Moss. I just think the name sucks. The gimmick sucks. So they really got to completely rebrand him. Like they did with Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans has got a new gimmick, and obviously that's who she is in reality, and I'll get to Lacey Evans later on. But that's a complete 180 from what she was doing before, ditching all the dumb gimmick shit, and she might very well get over in this role, and I honestly expect her to. So if they can do the same with Madcap Moss, he might have a bright future, but the key is rebranding him. He needs a complete 180 from what he's been doing in recent months, and if they don't do that, then he's probably fucked. No L from Facebook, their question was, who should be the one to beat the tribal chief, Roman Reigns? This is the ever-asked question, right now. I mean, talking about who is going to be the one to ultimately dethrone Roman Reigns as the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, or whatever the fuck they're calling him now. I did a whole article on this literally today for Bleach Report. I worked on it yesterday. It's on Bleach Report now. The 6 names I mentioned, and I won't give away all of them, but I mentioned 6 names. The one of those 6 that I would really love to see more than anyone beat Roman Reigns for those titles is Cody Rhodes. And I even said in our WrestleMania preview on WrestleRant Radio a couple of weeks ago, just put up the video of that here on the channel on Monday. Check it out myself, RJ, Tommy Bechtold. Awesome stuff. Really enjoyed that episode. But, RJ and I were talking about on that episode how it was laughable. Like we were saying, oh, no one get ahead of themselves. Cody's not coming in to beat Roman Reigns. But my mind has changed. They literally changed my mind in the matter of a week. Based on how he was presented at WrestleMania and on Monday's Raw, and even this week, he comes across as a total star. They're letting him keep the AEW presentation. He's very capable in the ring. They need stars right now, and he can be that guy. Of all the other people I mentioned in my article, like Drew McIntyre, for example, I wouldn't hate if any one of the people that I pitched be the one to take the belt from Roman. But someone like a Seth or a Drew or even an AJ or a Lashley, they're all great, but they're already established. Cody's obviously established to a degree as well. That's why he feels like a star right now. But he's never been a world champion in WWE before. He wasn't even a world champion in AEW, and that's his own fault, obviously. If they didn't put that stipulation in place, would he become a world champion in AEW? Almost definitely at some point. But that was his own doing, so that's really his own fault. But in WWE, I think he can, after all these years, finally win a world championship. And I think he can do it by beating Roman Reigns. So he's the guy that I think can and will beat Roman Reigns for the championship. My bold prediction may not exactly be bold, but I think Cody Rhodes can win Money in the Bank, 10 years removed from when he should have won it, although Dolph won that year and that was great. But in 2013, there really was no excuse for why Cody Rhodes could not win Money in the Bank. I mean, they gave it to Damian fucking Sandow, who I loved, but they ended up doing nothing with Sandow as a main eventer at all. Like, he cashed in and he lost. It really should have been Cody Rhodes. So, 10 years removed from that, he finally wins the briefcase, does not cash in as a shocker, but rather announces it ahead of time to face Roman at SummerSlam. That is what I want to say. No L second question. What was the point of Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai winning the NXT Women's Tag Team titles only to lose to Toxic Attraction? I mean, this has not been confirmed. This is only my guess. They had to have known. I mean, maybe not, but I would think they had to have known by the weekend who was getting called up and who wasn't. They probably found out Monday knowing the way that WWE works. And when I say they, I mean NXT. Shawn Michaels, whoever's running NXT creative at this point. I mean, Gunther beating LA Knight despite getting called up a couple of days later doesn't really bother me because LA Knight's probably going up as well as he should. So it's not like, oh, Gunther won. Why did he win on his way out? I mean, he lost to Braun Breaker on Tuesday of last week, so not that big of a deal. But you had to know, probably by Stand and Deliver, they would hopefully know that they're picking Gonzalez to go to Raw or SmackDown. So then that begs the question, like you said, why did they have them win the tag team titles and interrupt the reign of Toxic Attraction? In my opinion, the only reason why I think they did that, maybe not less so to create a moment on NXT and to do a title change there. To me, I think they did it just to give Raquel a moment in Texas, which is where she's from. You know, you got to remember, at Stand and Deliver a year ago, she won the NXT Women's Championship in a very good match, I thought, with Io Shirai. I think they had fans in the building at that point, in the NXT arena, the Capitol Wrestling Center, whatever the fuck they were calling it. A minimal amount of fans, though. It really was, not to say Stand and Deliver was packed. I mean, they had 3,000 people, but hey, it was more than a couple of hundred in that NXT arena. So it was probably a cool moment for her to probably win a championship in front of her, family and friends in the front row or whoever was there. So I think, and I've been saying this all week, I think that's why they did it. It really does make no sense. If you knew Raquel was getting called up, and she got pinned in that match on Tuesday, so they obviously knew by that point she was getting called up and it wasn't Dakota, taking the pin in that match, why would you have them win the championships? But my only guess, and I'm not a fan of it, but I get it, they probably just wanted to have her win in Texas, give her that moment, only to lose it a couple of days later. I mean, they never really had a real reign as champions. They didn't this time either, but at least during their second run as champions, Dakota and Raquel, they held the belts longer than they did the first time, which was literally like an hour. Like, they literally did not end the episode as champions. The same night they were bestowed the titles by William Regal or Triple H or whoever it was. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, their first question was, did you hear that CM Punk will take on Penta Oscuro? If that's how you pronounce it. My Spanish is terrible. I took Spanish for fucking 6 or 7 years, and I still can't, speak a lick of it. But I did hear that. I saw that on Twitter on Tuesday as announced by Tony Khan. The guy's a goof, but he comes up with great matches and puts on great shows. I can't argue with that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. I know Punk has said in interviews and when asked about it on Twitter, like, what are your dream matches in AEW? I know he's mentioned facing Lucha Bros in a tag team match, like Hair versus Mask or whatever it was, with Bryan Danielson against Penta and Phoenix. This isn't exactly that, but it's pretty close. I mean, Punk's not in the tag team ranks right now. Phoenix is out hurt, so this is as close as we're going to get to that right now. Penta's not really doing much. Punk's not doing a whole lot right now, so why the fuck not, So I like the fact that we get those sort of matches in AEW. We're also getting Suzuki against Joe tonight, so it should be a fun show. I'm really looking forward to it. His next question, did you know that Samoa Joe is Jay Lethal's mentor? I did know that. I forgot about it because I remember the Ring of Honor commentators talking about that during one of Jay Lethal's matches last year, whenever it was on the show. So I subconsciously knew that. I kind of forgot about it when Joe came out at the end of Supercard of Honor and went after Jay. I didn't really register for me at that point, but I do remember someone saying that at some point. So, hey, listen, I'm glad Joe has his first feud already set in stone in AEW, and I'm glad Jay Lethal's on TV more. The guy's been losing a lot. They really haven't done a whole lot with him. He's a great heel, as shown in Ring of Honor years ago. So I'm all for a Jay Lethal Samoa Joe feud to kind of kick off Joe's run in AEW. I think that's great. His third question, considering their issues with each other, do you think Wheeler, Yuta, and Trent Beretta will face off against each other next? I'm sure that's coming. They've been teasing a lot of tension. Really, what I would do with the whole tension between Yuta and everything they're doing with Best Friends right now is just to break the crew up entirely. Honestly, I've enjoyed Best Friends. They've been one of my more favorite teams in AEW since they started 3 years ago, and obviously Trent and Chuck were a team and all these other promotions before that, and I think New Japan, definitely Ring of Honor for a while, among other promotions. It's time to move on. I mean, Trent showed in that match with Bryan Danielson on Friday's Rampage. I don't know how far he would really get on his own, but the guy is very good in the ring. Chuck Taylor is fine, but the guy's a fucking goof, and Orange Cassidy's obviously been off and doing his own thing for years now, so I would just break the group entirely. If they're not going to get a tag team title reign, and they probably should have early on in AEW's existence, it's been long enough where it's like Lucha Bros, honestly, and even Jurassic Express, where I'm glad they got their runs, but it was too late. It was past the point where they were at the peak of their popularity. Lucha Bros, they thankfully striked at a perfect time. Jurassic Express, I'm glad they've gotten their reign. They could very well lose the championships tonight, but I feel like they should have won it a couple of years ago. As opposed to having this year-long Bucks reign, they could have given Jurassic Express a reign back in mid-2020, late 2020, whatever. So that's just me. And they kind of sacrificed the whole division to kind of play out the whole Omega Page story, but it is what it is. Back to your question, though, about Yuta and Beretta. Yeah, they've been teasing tension for a while now. They'll probably have a match at some point. Yuta is a made man coming off that match with Moxley on Rampage. I mean, to not capitalize on that, they would be fucking foolish, and I would hope they will. And I think Tony Khan realizes what he has in Yuta coming off that performance. So, and I don't think they would have booked it the way that they did if the intent wasn't to push him on his own as the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. So get him the fuck away from Best Friends. Either put him with Blackpool Combat Club, and I think that's the case now. I don't know if they've confirmed that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And have Beretta go off and do his own thing too and just break up Best Friends. You'd probably have to let go of Chuck Taylor at that point. Orange Cassidy's kind of warring his welcome with me, but maybe they could team together. I don't know. But at the very least, get you to the fuck away from Best Friends and start pushing him on his own. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine and YouTube. Check out a show Real. Honestly, John Ritland always does great work. His first question was, so Vince and company dressed a German and an Austrian in red jackets while also changing their names to resemble World War II soldiers/generals. Why is Vince like this? I can't say I'm shocked. We saw that with the debut of Gunther, or re-debut. We've seen him on Raw and Survivor Series before. But we saw that with the re-debut of Gunther on SmackDown last Friday, him coming out wearing red and whatever. Don't change something that isn't broken. But I can't say I'm shocked. Vince always has to dip his toes in everything. Thankfully, they didn't change Cody, but that's far and few between with people, especially with the NXT call-ups. If it works in NXT, the mindset is change it again on the main roster. And that's exactly what they're doing right now with Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser, which is a ridiculous name. But I'm not all that upset about it just because it's not like Marcel Bartel's going to be this breakout singles guy. Honestly, I think Fabian Eichner has more breakout singles potential than Barcel does. We didn't see Eichner on NXT this week, unfortunately. I was hoping to see some follow-up with him. If he's on his own now, if they plan to release him, I don't fucking know. But he wasn't on the show on Tuesday. Hopefully next week. But yeah, we'll see. They already changed the name. They changed the music. They changed the fucking colors that Walter wears to the ring. As long as they don't change, I say his gimmick, whatever his gimmick is, keep Walter coming across the way that he does. As long as they don't have him out there dancing like a babyface, wearing fucking lederhosen and yodeling and all this other shit, which I'm sure is coming at some point, then why fix something that isn't broken? So all this other stuff, it's annoying. Why change the name and the music and all this other shit when it's just not necessary? But I think the real thing with Walter and changing him would be the gimmick in the way that he comes across in the ring and his character and stuff like that. It hasn't happened yet. I don't think they did the whole World War II thing on purpose. I don't think that's a coincidence either. I think they were kind of looking for like German-sounding names and shit. I don't think that was a coincidence at all. I don't think their gimmick is to be World War II soldiers/generals. I feel like part of it is just they wanted Walter to stand out more with the red color because black might be too bland for Vince, God forbid. Unless they're out there doing like very sketchy Nazi-esque shit, which I wouldn't put it past this company because they've done stuff like that before, but definitely not in recent years. Unless they're doing controversial shit like that, then I'm not too upset. If we get to that point where they're heavily implying that's the case with these two and that's what they're going for, then that's a problem. But we haven't gotten to that point yet. So far, it's just a change of colors and the name and the music, which isn't necessary, and I'm not a fan of it, but it could be worse. So we'll see where it goes, and I wish him the best on SmackDown, along with Ludwig Kaiser, whatever the fuck they're calling him now. John's second question, what are the chances Ring of Honor will just be an AEW feeder system and or a way to utilize the expansive AEW roster more often? I think it's going to be both. I think it's a great way to showcase people that we don't ordinarily see on AEW TV, people like Brian Cage, people like Samoa Joe. I mean, he's on TV tonight. He was on TV last week. We don't know when Ring of Honor is coming back as a weekly television show or when they plan to run their next event. That's the thing. Like, the idea of them using the Ring of Honor championships in AEW right now is great, but there's no extra show. It's just kind of a promotion in theory at this point until they can get a streaming deal down or announce where they're airing the shows or whatever. Even if it's something as simple as Fight, which is where Ring of Honor TV was airing previously and also on their website on Mondays, I think that's perfectly fine. Kind of stick to that strategy. How they film the shows, I mean, before AEW bought them out, they were doing it in front of no people. I don't think that'd be the case with AEW owning Ring of Honor now. Maybe they'll air it, or maybe they'll do 1 hour Rampage, 1 hour Ring of Honor, and then just not film anything else. I don't know. They would really have to do a different day for their taping schedule. Currently, they film Rampage after Dynamite on Wednesdays most weeks. you can't obviously tape Ring of Honor on its own. I don't know if a lot of people would go. They would have to tape the weekly show with a Rampage or a Dynamite or something like that. Kind of like with ECW back in the day with SmackDown. They would tape ECW not on its own. I mean, they did early on before it flopped. And then they filmed it before SmackDown, I think, on Tuesday nights. So, one of them would have to be taped. I would have Rampage go live every Friday and then tape Ring of Honor before that. That's what I would do from a taping standpoint. I don't know if that's logistically possible, but that's what I would do. But yeah, in theory, I think using Ring of Honor as an AEW feeder system, which, let's be honest here, it's been a feeder system for both AEW and WWE for years now. I mean, you look at the AEW and WWE rosters, so many people came from Ring of Honor. I mean, even guys like Keith Lee, who people won't remember, but Keith Lee was in a tag team in Ring of Honor 5-6 years ago, and it was after that he kind of got into Evolve and then to WWE. Adam Cole, former Ring of Honor World Champion. Bryan Danielson, Christopher Daniels, both former Ring of Honor World Champions. CM Punk, same thing. A lot of people on the WWE roster, even Seth Rollins, came from Ring of Honor. Kushida kind of came from Ring of Honor to an extent. Damian Priest came from Ring of Honor. A lot of people in both companies came from Ring of Honor, and they have ROH to thank. So it kind of already was that way anyway. So if they can use it as both a feeder system and a way to kind of utilize their own talent who aren't being shown all that much in, on Dynamite and Rampage, I think that's great. It's just more a matter now of getting the streaming deal down and announcing where their TV tapings will be held and in front of what people and when and stuff like that. They really got to figure out that sort of stuff. And once they do, I think they'll be off to the races, which is great. Non-wrestling related, he says, but are there any movies you're looking forward to in the summer? If so, which ones and why? I got to catch up on my movies. I wanted to see Uncharted with Tom Holland. Alexis and I really wanted to see that. We just never got a chance to. The last movie I saw was over a month ago, and that was Batman. That was a great movie. I haven't seen anything else since in theaters. I heard Morbius was shit. We'll talk about that in a moment. Someone else asked about that, but I have not had a chance to see that yet. I'll probably go see it on a $5 Tuesday. That came out. Even Sonic 2, which I know you saw, John, and reviewed on your channel. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I haven't watched a review, but I want to go see it. Alexis and I actually saw the first one on Valentine's Day. Go figure. 2 years ago on a date that we went on, and it was actually a surprisingly very good movie, and I love Jim Carrey, so I want to go see that one of these days as well. I got to catch up on those. And then coming out this summer, the two obvious Marvel movies I want to see, Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange 2, that comes out May 6th, I believe. I really want to go see that. Thor 4, Need More, Love and Thunder, that comes out in July. I think the weekend of Alexis and I's anniversary, I believe. So looking forward to those two. Those were the only two that came to mind. I had to look up what movies were coming out this summer, and it really wasn't all that wide of a selection as far as movies I would be interested in personally. The only three I could find were Jurassic World, the third one, Lightyear, and Nope. So I thought Jurassic World 2 sucked. I really, that movie was fun to watch just because it was so bad. Fun fact, it was one of the first movies Alexis and I went on a date to go see together 4 years ago. The movie was terrible, but I do want to see the third one just to kind of finish out the trilogy, and they plan to make more, I guess. And also to see the original cast come back. That should be cool. So I look forward to seeing that in June. Lightyear, which is the new Buzz Lightyear movie from Pixar, I think. The revamped animation style for Buzz Lightyear. That looks really cool, and I like all the Pixar stuff, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. And then Nope is the new Jordan Peele movie. Honestly, I'm probably in the minority on this. I didn't see Candyman. I heard that sucked. I saw the Us movie. This is Us. That's a show. Wasn't it the movie just called Us that came out 3 years ago? I did not like that movie, actually. I thought that was a very disappointing film. I loved Get Out, which I saw about a year after it came out. Thought Get Out was great. Did not think Us was all that good. So I don't really know what to think about the Nope movie. I saw the trailer. It's got a fucking alien invasion. It just kind of feels like, what's that movie? Not Silence of the Lambs. The movie that came out with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Holy shit. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's gonna bother me now. Oh my God, I don't remember. And I'm not moving on until I figure out the name of this movie. I just saw the second one last year. Let's see. The movie she did with John Krasinski. There's so many movies that are have a similar sounding title with not Get Out, but Be Quiet and stuff like that. It was the Silence Alien movie. My fucking laptop is slow as shit. A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place. That's what it was called. Sometimes I can't think of this stuff when I'm live on the air here doing these sort of shows. But it looks like A Quiet Place to me. So we'll see how that one pans out. I'll probably go see that just to go see it. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of blockbusters coming out this summer, though, which is interesting. Because it feels like that is the time to do it. And a couple of years ago, and even maybe last year, there were quite a few. This year, not so much. So we'll see what comes out. At Supersonic X 1991, their first question was, with both the Raw and SmackDown women's divisions lacking credible challengers for their respective brands, how will WWE fix this situation? Call up NXT talent, bring up some of the undercard talent on TV, or bring back Asuka and Bayley? Or D, all of the above. I mean, they've already started to call up NXT people. They called up Raquel to SmackDown on Friday. The fact that Dakota has not been called up yet is fucking ridiculous. I fear for someone like her and Io Shirai in the main roster. The fact of the matter is, they gotta be moved up. Kaylee Ray might even be moved up. I mean, she's already gone for the NXT Women's title twice. So what more can she really do there? And she lost. Now, I don't think she's beating Mandy Rose. I still think it's going to be Cora Jade at some point. So, yeah, Raquel got moved up. I would move up Io to Raw or SmackDown. I would move Dakota up to Raw or SmackDown. They are long overdue for a call-up. I would move up some NXT women. Some of the undercard talent on TV you're talking about. There really aren't a lot of women currently. They released a lot of them. Like all the women I think that could have been more on the main roster, they got rid of. Like someone like a Tegan Nox or a Mia Yim that they weren't doing shit with, they released them anyway. They kind of left the scraps. I think Raw and SmackDown have pretty good women's divisions on the whole right now. Ronda Rousey coming back helps, even though her current work has not been great on the mic. On SmackDown, you have Sasha, Naomi, Raquel, Lacey coming back obviously as well. Sasha, Naomi, Lacey, Raquel, Charlotte, Ronda, Shayna, Shotzi, two people that really fit the bill of underutilized women they could be doing more with. I mean, where the fuck is Xia Li? That's another woman. They have a lot of women on SmackDown. We haven't seen Xia Li on SmackDown in months. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I know they didn't have any plans for her going into WrestleMania, but she just disappeared after promoting her for weeks and months. Ridiculous. On Raw, with Doudrop, she's been a face and a heel. I like Doudrop. She's talented, but I just don't see her as a viable challenger right now. Nikki Ash, the character's fucking awful. She's good as a wrestler, but the character was fine for a while. It's stupid now. Move on from it. She will not do anything of note until she changes that dumb, stupid character. Alexa Bliss has got to be brought back, definitely. They got to do more with her. I don't know where the fuck Asuka and Bayley are. Bayley might be still hurt. Asuka, if she's not cleared by now, I don't know what's wrong with her, but they got to bring her back soon as well. Zelina's fine. I don't see her as a challenger for a championship. Carmella could be, but been there, done that. They just kind of they have to add more variety to these women's divisions, specifically on Raw. SmackDown is, I think, in good shape. Raw needs some more talented women. I mean, they have talented women, but I don't give a fuck about Dana Brooke, Tamina. They're just terrible. Doudrop is good, but I don't really know what you do with her. Carmella and Zelina are kind of one-dimensional. I don't really see them as viable threats to that title. Zelina lost in 2 minutes to Bianca on Monday anyway, so who gives a fuck? And Nikki Ash's character is terrible. So that really only leaves Bianca. They have Sonya coming back to the ring now, which I like, which I'll get to in a moment. Becky, I would say have her take time off, but again, what do you really do with the women in the meantime? They have Liv and they have Rhea, who I both like. I like both of those women. Rhea's got to turn heel. But yeah, I think more variety in the Raw women's division is needed at this point than SmackDown. SmackDown just got Raquel and Lacey. I would put Dakota and Io on Raw, but that's just me. His second question, what are your thoughts on Lacey Evans' return to WWE, as well as her promo on SmackDown this past Friday? I find it very interesting, and I hope that Lacey Evans will ditch the sassy Southern Belle character. I do too. I think she played the character really well. I think I liked it more than most. But it was very one-dimensional. And the thing is that when she randomly went babyface a few years ago, like in late 2019 when she moved to SmackDown, it actually got over. Like, I was at a few WWE shows at that point, and she got pretty good reaction. She was doing pretty well in the role. But it became apparent they only turned her to face Bayley for the championship. They had a less than stellar match. Bayley won, and that was it. And then Lacey did nothing on TV after that, and they turned her heel again a couple of months later. So I would stick with it this time. Go all in with it. Don't do the sassy Southern Belle shit and call people nasties. Have her actually come across as herself as a former Marine and tell that story as they did on SmackDown last week. I think that's great. So I love the repackaging of Lacey. I'm glad she's back. It wasn't someone I thought could come back and be a real game changer, but her and Charlotte with this current character of Lacey's could work at some point. I really do. So I think she's a good addition to that SmackDown women's division. And his third question here, your thoughts on Gunther's debut on SmackDown this past Friday? It's great, but why do I find it weird on why Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser are wearing red coats and named after World War II war criminals? WWE is weird sometimes. I already talked about this earlier, but, I'm not sold on it either. I think it's stupid, but listen, if they can book him right and they can let him be Walter just without the Walter name, that is really all I am concerned about. The color change is stupid. The name change and the music change are unnecessarily dumb as well. If they can let him be him, though, and not do Lederhosen and have him fucking yodeling or do a Nazi fucking some shit with that or whatever, or imply that, then I think we're good. So hopefully they let him be Walter and push him accordingly. That's really all I care about. At E13A, have you heard about Morbius? Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but like I said, I probably will just to see it. I heard it was not good. That came out the same week as WrestleMania when I was away, so I've just been incredibly busy and catching up on shit. I'll probably see it before the end of the month, but like I said earlier, I'll probably see it on a $5 Tuesday or for $5 before noon. I'm not paying full price for that shit. I heard it was just not that good, which doesn't shock me. A lot of the Sony, Spider-Man was great, obviously, but it just didn't look great. I was intrigued by it, but I wasn't like, oh man, I can't wait to see this great movie. I knew it would probably be mediocre, and I heard that it was. So I'll see it just to see it, but nothing more beyond that. I haven't heard about the post-credit scene as far as what it entails. I've only heard a little bit, but I'll probably see it just to, see that in the next couple of weeks. At E13A's next question, will Edge's new stable, if more join Damian Priest, go full supernatural? I hope not. I was liking the direction they were going into WrestleMania and coming out of WrestleMania. Whatever the fuck they did on Monday was dumb. That was stupid. Like, WWE can have their own House of Black in a different way, but without the supernatural bullshit. Like, that is really what killed the Bray Wyatt stuff in WWE, whether that was his idea or not. Because the way they execute shit is so fucking goofy, it just never really works. Like, you can do supernatural, but the way they did it on Monday was fucking dumb. It was very stupid. So I would hope they don't do that. I want more people to join the stable. I want the stable to be great. I'm looking forward to it. But to do what they did on Monday would be very, very dumb. And his third question here, do you think more NXT international brands, NXT Japan, NXT Mexico, etc., would have done well if they actually came to fruition? No, I don't think so. I feel like the more brands they have, the less attention people are going to be paying attention to each one. For example, I think the idea of NXT UK is cool, and I like the show most weeks. Literally nobody watches NXT UK. Maybe not literally because I watch it, but the numbers, I would love to know the streaming numbers for that show on Peacock. I doubt people even from the UK fucking watch that show because they barely promote it. They don't give a fuck about it. It's a good show, but it's been a lot of the same people for many, many years now. So I think it would be the same thing with Japan and Mexico. They probably would have just wanted to have it just to say that they have it. More content for Peacock, and that's really about it. I don't think they really would have put a lot of effort into it. I'm not saying I'm glad that they didn't come to fruition, but I think if they did, one, it's more content for me to watch, so I'm happy that didn't happen, but I just feel like we would have had all these brands in all these different countries, and like WWE trying to do a lucha-style show, it just wouldn't work. It wouldn't. With the way they run, they just couldn't do it. Like, I could never see them having like a Lucha Underground-esque show. That was really the NXT of Mexico's Lucha Underground, with having zero association with WWE. That was a fantastic show. And a WWE version of that, just to me, just wouldn't work, and I don't think people would care. And the same thing with NXT Japan. So it's probably for the better that they didn't come to fruition. At Kyle Rochelle 19, why does Sonya Deville go after African-American women? First Naomi, now Bianca Belair. I understand that she's a heel, and there's no one for Bianca right now till Rhea Ripley and or Becky Lynch. But it seems to have come out of nowhere. Why is the women's division weak on Raw? Like I said, they need more, to really push more women and call up more women to Raw, probably more so than SmackDown at this point. So that's why it's on the weaker side as far as that goes, as far as credible threats to Bianca go. But you're right, that was the first thing I thought of on Monday as well, when Sonya attacked Bianca. Sonya, we never found out why she had an issue with Naomi. Was it just the 1,000-pound elephant in the room and that she didn't like her because she's in storyline a racist character? I would hope not, but they never explained why she never liked her. So really, that's the only not the only implication, but why else wouldn't she? Why else would she go after Naomi and no one else? She didn't have an issue with fucking Shotzi Blackheart. She didn't have an issue with Aaliyah, for the most part. It was Naomi. Now she's going after Bianca, so it doesn't look good. Bianca I get because Bianca's champion. The Naomi thing really should have been explained. They just never bothered to. That feud went on for 8 months? 6, 7, 8 months? Never bothered to explain why she had an issue with her. That was ridiculous, but it doesn't exactly look great as far as her character goes to be targeting solely African-American women. That's not a good look for her in storyline. His second question, why is WWE changing these people's names and dropping their last names, like Raquel Rodriguez, Theory, etc., and changing their theme music? Do they think they will be bigger stars because of it? The music is changed for the sake of change, really. The name changes is kind of the same thing. Raquel Rodriguez or Raquel Gonzalez is not her real name. Gonzalez is her real name, last name. Raquel is not. So I'm not sure why they couldn't just use Raquel Gonzalez. For all of these other people, the Theory thing is just dumb. I legitimately think that Vince did not like the idea of there being Stone Cold Steve Austin and Austin Theory. Too many Austin. So he probably was just like, I'll just call him Theory. The Matt Riddle thing we heard was because of Riddle's run-ins with the law and the whole allegation stuff a couple of years ago. I don't know if that's the case or not, but the other name changes and shit like that, they've done because they want to own all the names. They don't own Walter. They don't own Marcel Bartel. Those were the names they used before WWE, and they wanted to be able to own it. So they're not going to let them use those names in the main roster, and if they're not going to trademark it, then they got to give them new names. That's why they do it. I get why they do it. I still think it's ridiculously dumb. The music especially does not need to be changed. People still use CFO. There's no excuse why they can't use CFO. Don't change the fucking music if it's not broken. I really don't understand. At Justin David Kish, his question was, welcome back, Justin. Thank you for sending in 2 questions here. He said, do you think the main roster is overlooking NXT UK talent like all members of Gallus and GYV? I don't think they're overlooking main NXT UK talent. Pete Dunne just got called up to SmackDown. Walter just got called up to SmackDown. Bartel got called up. Piper Niven. Toni Storm last year before she left. Rhea Ripley the year before that, or last year as well. They've called up a lot of NXT UK talent, so I don't think they're overlooking NXT UK as far as that goes. The talent that you mentioned, GYV did make it over to NXT. They probably would have won the NXT Tag Team titles at some point before the big NXT 2.0 change. They will likely be released at some point, because if not soon. And they weren't in that gauntlet match last night. That should tell you all you need to know. They're in the same category as Jacket Time as far as fucking losers in that division on that show, which is unfortunate because they're very talented. So I would like for them to get more of a run, but I don't know if they're at the point of no return or what, but I just do not see them ever pushing GYV. Gallus has never even been used on NXT. And with Gallus, I'll go into your second question here. You said, speaking of Gallus, I personally see Joe Coffey. I personally see Joe Coffey as someone who could be a future champion on the main roster and as a solid heel. What do you think of Joe Coffey? With me, they're good workers. They bore me to fucking tears. They have been all over NXT UK for so long now, for years, literally years. For me, I just don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about Wolfgang. I don't give a fuck about the Coffey brothers. The 2 Joe Coffey matches I've seen in the main event of those NXT UK takeovers were kind of boring. The Walter Joe Coffey one especially was not great, and Pete Dunne and Joe Coffey was also kind of boring. So, yeah, they just kind of bore me to tears. I don't see them getting over in NXT. I don't see them getting over on the main roster either. So, I think they're NXT UK for life. Unfortunately for them, but I really just don't see a lot of value in them. Even less so than GYV. I love GYV, and I think they can work in NXT. They just choose not to. Gallus, they were just too bland for me. I just do not see them getting over in NXT or on the main roster, in my opinion. At Jeremy8911, his question was, Creed brothers are going to be in the conversation for best tag team in wrestling in the next few years. Mark my words, your thoughts. They could be. Listen, they very well could be. I don't know if they will be, because WWE has called up a lot of teams from NXT, and they've all been released or left. AOP never even had a fucking shot. They got cut. They could have been a pretty good team. American Alpha, you could have said the same thing about American Alpha. They didn't do a lot on the main roster. They did win the SmackDown Tag Team titles for about a couple of months, but they didn't do a lot on the main roster. They got broken up, and they never really reunited because Jason Jordan got hurt. Undisputed Era could have been a top team on the main roster. They never got the call-up because Bobby Fish got fired and Kyle O'Reilly left. Enzo Amore and Big Cass, say what you will about them, but they were very popular in NXT and could have been a main roster tag team for years. But again, never won the tag titles, got broken up within a year. So could they? Yeah, I think the Creed brothers could be a top tag team in the next couple of years, in the coming years for WWE. Will they? I don't know. We can't guarantee anything, especially with tag teams, because they misuse them so often. And WWE's tag team divisions are so, they just don't put a lot of effort into them that it's hard to say. But the Profits got called up after never really doing a lot in NXT for a few years, although they were NXT Tag Team Champions towards the end. And they've been the most successful tag team NXT has ever had in terms of being called up to the main roster. That's just a fact. I can't think of any other team that got called up and was as successful as the Street Profits have been. Maybe Harper and Rowan, although they were never really utilized their full potential. All the other teams either never made it to the main roster, or if they did, they were broken up or really soon after. So they could be, and I hope they will. I hope they will, because the Creed brothers are very good for two kids of their experience level and their age, especially after last night. That was a great performance by them. And I'm not mad they didn't win, by the way. I don't think they needed to win. They keep them in chase mode. Pretty Deadly could come in and be the heels that they chase for the titles. I wanted the Creeds to win at Stand and Deliver, but now that you have Pretty Deadly as the top heels in that division, and as the top heel tag team, then why not put the belts on them and have the Creed brothers chase? So I wasn't really mad at that finish, but we'll see what happens. And I think they can be a top tag team for sure if they can continue to develop at the rate that they are. And final question from his username is at looks like it's Mike O. He said, how long until the novelty of Cody Rhodes wears off and he's back to where he was before, or does it not happen and he goes to the top for real? Again, like I just said to the previous question, we don't know. We don't really. There are a lot of people that I thought were surefire picks. How can you fuck up on that guy? How can you miss on Finn Balor or Nakamura or Aleister Black? Aleister Black got fired. Nakamura has been a glorified mid-card act for years. Balor has been also a glorified mid-card act for years. It doesn't really seem like they're ever going to get a prolonged push in the main event scene ever again, and that's a shame, because both guys are awesome. And Aleister Black is awesome, and he's great in AEW now, but he also should have been a world champion in that company. Cody Rhodes is a different scenario. He's not getting called up. He's getting brought over from the opposing company he helped start, which really makes it unlikely for him to win a world title. But again, I go back to what I said earlier. The way they have presented him since returning gives me some faith, and maybe I'm wrong to be hopeful because they've crushed my hopes many, many times before. It gives me faith that he could be the one to beat Roman Reigns, which was fucking hysterical to even think about a week or two ago, even 6 months or a year ago. Cody was coming off his first reign as TNT champion when Roman first won that Universal title 2 years ago. It really is amazing to think about. And now he could be the one to beat Roman, and I think he should be. After the promo that he cut on Raw last week, how the fuck do you not have him win the World Championship? They need stars. They didn't create Cody Rhodes as a star. He really made himself a star in all these other promotions that he went to after WWE. But the very least they can do is capitalize off of it. They didn't make AJ Styles a star. He was already a star. But they made him a superstar with the way they booked him. And they've nailed him too. They did a great job with AJ Styles. If they could do it for AJ, Cody's not AJ in the ring, but he can be a special talent for them. He can be a top talent if they book him accordingly. So far, so good, but it's only been a week or two. We really got to wait until May, June, July, August. Does he beat Roman? If he doesn't, what do you do with him from there? Cesaro came close to beating Roman. He lost, and he left. So, I don't know. Cody's taking a real risk by doing what he's doing as far as coming to WWE, and if it pays off, the guy's a fucking genius. And you also asked, will the novelty of Cody Rhodes wear off? It could. He's really over right now, but will he be as over in a month, in 2 months? AJ, that could have been the same thing. They could have booked him like a loser, and then he just kind of becomes another guy, but they didn't. They booked him like a star, and now people see him as a star, even if they didn't know who he was previously. Cody has got to be booked like a star in order for him to maintain that main event status and win the world title at some point. I really wholeheartedly believe that. There's a good chance he ends up in the mid-card and that right back to where he was 6, 7, 8 years ago. But I really hope not, because he's a lot better than that. And they need stars, and he can be one of those stars. If not the star, if he were to beat Roman for that championship. And that's going to do it, guys, for episode 437 here today of hashtag AskGSM, April 13th, 2022. Thank you guys, as always, for sending in your questions. We had a lot of them this week, so thank you for bearing with me and listening to the show. I always appreciate it. We'll be back next week, but if you want to send in questions to that show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Find me on Facebook there and drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. Last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.